Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the first live stream from Meet Michael Bowen and all the businesses underneath that. This live broadcast, I'm trying to bring at least once a week, probably need it every second week though, but it's designed to give everyone a bit of a back-end view of what happens within the business, specifically from an investor perspective, to share what it is we do, how it is we do it, such that we can be open and transparent. And I've kind of broken down into a couple of sections here. And the first section I'd like to talk about is a couple of our investors, an example or two of that. So starting with our first investor who signed up, Nick. Nick is now at a point, only have been actually, 2-3 months now, coming up to month 4, sorry. We borrowed some money from him for 1 year. He came on board as a learn and earn kind of progress. And he has actually already started to earn interest as well as get his first repayment back. I think that was done, it finalized today and went back to him, and his full money will be paid back to him by the end of the year. That investment that he's put in has already gone into the Bloemfontein's home property. The property itself is actually generating revenue. We generated 9,000 Rand last month, hoping to make something similar again this month. And that was done through an Airbnb. So it was a very straightforward mortgage sale. We got 100% finance from the bank. It took a bit of arguing with the bank, so a bit of people who are actually going out there and negotiating with banks. Make sure you press back. Don't take the first offer they give you. Always push back and say no, you want more. Even if they've given you 100% and prime, ask for prime minus. If they're giving you prime minus, ask for prime minus minus. Just keep going and keep asking. It's always good to negotiate. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. So that is our first investor, Nick. And the beautiful thing then about Nick, of course, is he's been with us a few months now, and he's now been onboarded to PE Homes as our partner in Port Elizabeth, or Kabeha as it's now called. And it's been about a month he's been with us. We haven't even started advertising yet. We've just been doing the basics of looking at the secondary channels. He's already been out. He's already had an offer put in. It would have been a great opportunity. Unfortunately, the lady had someone else who take it off her hands before us. But again, this thing happens in property. That is our first investor I wanted to talk about. The two others who are on our Learn and Earn program down here in Cape Town, we've already started sharing a vast amount of information with them. They are both giving me great feedback so far, saying they're actually, they've got more information what they actually need. I'd rather they have more information than what they need than too little information. So they have actually started to, like I said, to go on the Learn and Earn progress. And yeah, this information is going to be there for the whole time they invest with us. They don't need to start doing anything straight away. They can do it anytime they want. The last one to talk about is Johannesburg deal. So this is partnering up with investors from up in Johannesburg. And unfortunately, that deal was actually taken off our hands as well. It went to an auction at the end of the day. Auctions can be touch and go sometimes. You may get your money out of it, you may not. In this case, it actually went for 100,000 Rand more than what we were willing to buy or to actually pay for that property. We set our hard limit, we stuck to our hard limit, and we didn't go over that. Again, you need to walk into auctions knowing what is the most amount you're going to pay and what is your walkaway value. There are a lot of people in these auctions, or these guys that do all auction off the wall. So you're all busy looking at them and they're bidding, you turn around and there's no one there, but you can't see who's bidding. They're just bouncing it off the wall and bumping the price up. A lot of cowboys happen in this industry. So that's just quickly from our investors' perspective. From our partners' perspective, like I said, Nick, who's originally an investor, has now been onboarded into a partner. And we've also signed up a partner in Joburg Homes. So Ralph joins us, and he'll be looking after Gauteng to start with, as we look for more partners up there to take over different parts of Johannesburg. Joburg is very much a different beast. And going from North Joburg to South Joburg or east to west, it takes quite a while. You physically cannot cover that broad amount of area. So what we've done is we decided to break it up into 4, but Ralph is taking on the first section. We've already started with the sourcing agents up there. We've got a sourcing agents pipeline, which is fantastic. I'm going to keep you updated about how he's been onboarded with that. We did our first training session with him earlier this week, and that was on the CRM system, but on the website and how we bring in actually about 4 or 5 different funnels we're using for that. Next one. So next one is we're looking for partners in Pretoria and Durban at the moment. So we're speaking to quite a few people. We're looking to get the right people on board, of course. We're dealing with investors cash here, and that is critical for them to know that their money's safe. So whoever we're bringing on board has to be trusted and has to be reliable. Again, in terms of Pretoria, we may carve it up into four different partners: north, south, east, and west. And Durban is looking like the same thing as well. In regards to the actual properties, so Pretoria missed a very near eviction. So this property was bought at way below market value. We bought it at 1.1 million. It was worth I think it was 1.75 million. It was worth. I had an offer on it the next day after I bought it for 1.6 million. We decided to keep it, but knowing that the lady was going to stay on was always a risk that in a year's time, which is now past, she may reach an eviction point. She wasn't paying her rent for the last month. We kind of stuck with her, worked her way through it, allowed her to understand that we're going to go through the process, which we did. So we gave our letter of demand and we followed it up with a legal notice, and that has brought her back on track again. And so we're back to where we should be. Once she leaves, we'll look for a much higher, credit rating profile tenant, such that we can keep our risk down. Unfortunately, with this tenant, we had to keep them on when we bought the property. And let's have a look what else we got. Joburg, another one in Joburg that's been refinanced. This has been a long time coming. We originally carved this one up to quite a few units, and there was a number of refurbs, and it went through a whole lot of COVID. And as one of the painful things is that during COVID, everything stopped, and you literally had to beg, borrow, and steal trying to get something through. Waiting for that refinance has been a pain. That's required a lot more documentation this time around. The banks are certainly becoming a lot more picky about what they're doing and a lot more pedantic in the documentation requirements. That's something to be aware of when you are submitting. Make sure you have originals. Make sure they're certified. Banks have now come back and said they're not accepting the police stamp certification. They want it to be an accountant or a lawyer or something along that line. So just a little tip for people buying property: make sure the documentation is done by a certified, what do they call it, commissioner, not by a police commissioner. They are going to push back on it more and more. Absa was the first one in that. Bloemfontein, we are close to lodging. This is the one that started in January. It was a painful process. Again, a lot of the banks are pushing back on the documentation they require. They're asking for a lot more. They're implementing FICA, and the conveyancers are being told more and more, get the original documents. Now, if you're like me and you like to partner across multiple different cities, that can be very painful. If you have a trust holding your company, it's even more painful, because now all of your beneficiaries, anybody who's on there, I've got my parents on there as beneficiaries, we had to get their birth certificate. They're 80 years old. The birth certificate is very light and very fragile. Scan after scan, no matter how many times it was certified, it came back. And we had to get the original marriage certificate. Also, the next thing they asked for as well, which is something new on me, is the fact that now they're actually enforcing to come and visit your property. So if you don't have a proof of residence, so all of my stuff is online, they actually want to come around and see your property now, which is actually quite painful. I managed to get around it. And the way I got around it was to get a certified letter to say I live there, B, the rental contract, and C, I could email through a Vodacom statement. So those three in conjunction convinced them to take it. But the banks and the conveyancers are being very finicky about that documentation. I can't say it enough. It's quite rightly so, I get it, but it is, and it will delay. We put our offer in January. We're about to take transfer now. Will I use a conveyancer again? Yes, I will, but for a very specific reason, and that is because I want to slow down the next transfer on the next property we're looking to take possession of, because of student accommodation, and I need to wait to take transfer in December. So a little trick there, you can learn how to use a very bad conveyancer who's very slow to make sure you only get in a few months later than what you want to. Like I said, the Bloemfontein Homes is lodging. That should go through. We've already Airbnb'd it. We made 9,000 Rand in the first month, and that's revenue though. Fortunately, we have no mortgage on it as of yet. It hasn't lodged. and the costs were also covered. So we had early occupation, we secured early occupation, we convinced the owner that we do need it for the build. Now the build, again, is something to note. If you're going to be doing room rentals, now this isn't necessarily a room rental, it's an Airbnb, it's a part of an old hotel, and we bought a room. But if you are going to do room rentals and the banks want to see it, they're going to demand a kitchen. And they don't have a definition of a kitchen. I literally asked to see the definition of a kitchen on one big long statement. They could not produce it to me. Eventually, we compromised and we came to an agreement that a kitchen consists of a cupboard, a sink, a fridge, and either a 2-prong socket with a socket for an oven, or an oven inbuilt in a 2-prong socket. And also the basin, a sink, a plumbed sink. Doesn't have to have hot water, it's just got to have water. So we put the bare minimum in for that to pass away for the kitchen. The banks then financed it. Without that, none of the banks would finance it. Other one for Bloemfontein, again, like I mentioned earlier, our first initial investor we liked so much, we brought him on as a partner, and we liked him so much that the unit next door also went on sale. And so we put an offer in, we got it below market value. I think it was just over 10% below market value, but it was done on an installment sale. Fantastic. So very low output cost for us right there in the beginning. We got the installment sale drafted up. We also did him a loan agreement just to smooth things through. The building works is in process. I put a video up the other day of the building works in process, and the building work should be coming to completion shortly. Little tip on the building works, and I've said it time and time again, make sure you get it written down, what he's going to do, when he's going to do it by, and what happens if he doesn't finish on time. That last one was what reduced our timeline this time around, even though we're in COVID level 4, to being about a 2-week turnaround from the last time we didn't do it and we trusted the guy, and it was about a 4.5-week turnaround time. If a builder doesn't want to give you a penalty clause for not being able to finish on time, ask him why not. If you can't answer, I think you know why, because he's not going to finish on time. Builders will always tell you that they can get it done on time, and what they're doing is they're getting payment now for almost the next project, especially the bucky builders. They're always working on the next deal down the line. So make sure you get that in writing. Make sure you have a penalty. You can kick them off if they don't complete in time as well. We put that into our contract. Other one, Jacques, my business partner, he listed on Friday. It's in Cape Town. He spent Saturday, so he listed on Friday. He spent Saturday getting an Airbnb ready, and by Tuesday morning, he already had 29,000 rands worth of bookings over the next 3 months. He said bookings coming today. I haven't managed to catch up with him as of yet, but the automation's in place. The strategies are in place to drive revenue to this property. It's in a great location. We're using the strategies to actually get it ranked #1, to get it seen. The photos are fantastic. Just a great property, and it's going to rent well, especially as we're coming up to the end of COVID now. Cape Town's going to boom. You can just see that this season is going to be a bumper season already. In terms of me, what have I been doing before I get on to a few more behind the scenes kind of stuff in terms of the business, what you're going to need when you're running a property management business or a property investing business? I went on a weekend off. I just had enough. I went kayaking, whitewater kayaking here down in Cape Town. Absolutely great. Did some hiking, saw some caracals, and that was it for this weekend. Very, very nice, relaxing long weekend. Behind the scene kind of stuff, our CRM system. We've implemented a CRM system. We've implemented the agent funnel. So now we're advertising to agents to bring us properties. That funnel is in place, is automated, brings everything in behind the system. I can't tell you how much time that CRM system is capturing for us. All I'm doing now is just marketing to agents. On a group now, there's 2,500 agents on there, and I'm just marketing, saying, if you've got a deal, go to this, fill in 9 numbers. These 9 numbers will tell me whether I buy it or not. We've done the sourcing agent funnel as well. We're actively looking for more sourcing agents. Marketing again on a sourcing group. We've got a list in the CRM of database of sourcing agents, actively pursuing through to them to bring us more leads. The more leads we get, the better it's going to be. My Roof funnel has been put in place and tested as we speak. So we're finding properties on My Roof and automating that system as well. But the Sheriff HQ funnel is causing us a bit of a challenge. And I'm thinking a lot of people are going to be seeing this. Lightstone has removed easy contact report. You can't just go in anymore and do an easy contact and say, give me the guy's number and email address. We used to be able to take that, plug it into our system, and it would automatically email them. That's no longer possible. What we're relying on right now is the adverts, which is great. We've got leads coming in, but I can't manually put people in. It's against Poppy Act, which is a bit of a pain. Those are the actual CRM backend systems kind of working in process. We also set up the investor pipeline. So that's around the automation of when we do our presentations and our deal pitch. Got another 2 properties we need to do a deal pitch for probably sometime next week. Looking for about 100 grand buy-in for that. Nothing too fantastic in terms of the actual buy-in, but it does give a 10% return. Plus we teach you how to do this for yourself. Now, I don't know if you remember the legacy days, and if you've seen other training providers, you can pay up to 100,000 rand for the education. It's going to take you 6 months to go through it, and you're not going to get your money back. We're going to give you money back, plus interest, plus show you everything we're doing. Last one, we are hiring. We're looking for a social media manager. I've been interviewing today companies and individuals. If you know anybody, please recommend them to us. We've got a lot of social media management going on in the background. Could really do with some help on that. And that is the business wrap-up or update for this week. I hope to see you again next week or the week after. I'm not too sure how long it's going to be. Kind of waiting for a few things to cross the line so I can give you some more real updates on that across the line. If you've got any questions, post them on the actual video. I'll get onto them in a few days or even make you a video back. In the meantime, have a great rest of the afternoon.